All right, so it seems worth giving a quick update on where VuFind is. At the summit last year, I felt a little bit nervous because the summit was all about VuFind 2.0 and when would VuFind 2.0 be out, and it was still in development, so there was sort of some tension in the air. We've had some successes now, so now I can brag instead of worry as the summit warms up. So I also need to start by giving credit. If you've seen me give presentations, you may have noticed that my great strength is not creating PowerPoint decks. And so this year, in honor of the philosophy of the open source community, I have stolen my slides from other people exclusively and have not created any slides of my own at all. But if you happen to notice an ugly slide during any of my presentations, it's probably one that I modified myself. So in this particular case, I recently co-presented with Owen O'Carrigan of the National Library of Ireland at a conference in Italy. I was not in Italy. I was sitting at my desk with a webcam. But the slides that he put together were really nice, and I thought, what can I do with those? So today I am going to borrow some of his slides, and you can see how nice they look, because pretty pictures in a PowerPoint presentation. So here's one I made. You can tell. So first let's start with a quick year in review. So in February of this year, VuFind 2.0 was not released yet, but we went ahead and pushed it live for our digital library anyway. Then in March, Keystone Library Network also went live with VuFind 2.0, even though it was not yet released. And then in June, it was officially released, and there was much celebration. Then 2 months later, we released 2.1 because our work is never done. And then September, we had a VuFind meetup in Germany, in German, so I was not at that one. And then in October, we had the Italian one I just mentioned. So there's been a lot of code movement. People are using the code. People are meeting and talking about the code. I'm happy about all of this. And now we are here today. So what's new in terms of features and functionality? So 2.0 was a major redesign. The main point of this was to get us to new, more extensible architecture. So we built on Zen Framework 2. It also brought us more feature parity between the different search backends, which was sort of a goal of having better architecture. It streamlined the installation and upgrade process because those things were somewhat painful before. And it also got us up to Solr 4, which gives us a lot of new functionality, better performance, better memory efficiency, etc. So then, once we had basically the existing slightly enhanced VuFind 1 functionality out in 2.0, we were able to start adding new features in order to make a 2.1 release. And this mainly consisted of things that had been local customizations at Villanova that I'd been wanting to work on a shareable version of for years. So that brings us the flexible combined search interface, which is what we use at Villanova for our 2-column Solr and Summon search. You can now mix and match different search modules however you like in VuFind. And the code that you get in 2.1 is much, much nicer than the hideous code that we were originally using here at Villanova. We also now have a website search interface with a crude but functional harvesting tool that loads web page content into a separate Solr core. And so now version 2.2 is under development. The first feature that's completed that has made it onto this slide is better faceting interface. So up to this point, faceting in VuFind has exclusively consisted of anding facets together. You click on more of them and you narrow down your search. But starting with 2.2, you'll have the ability to, first of all, have not facets. So you can say, I don't want anything matching this facet, get rid of it. And you also have the ability to turn on or faceting so that you can say, I want books or journals, not books and journals, by clicking some checkboxes. So this is something that I've been thinking about literally for 4 years, and it finally exists in code. We'll also soon have, I hope, support for extended dismax, which is another thing that's been talked about for ages, but now can actually happen. All right, so now we get into Owen's nice-looking slides. So obviously the VuFind Reach continues to expand. We've got VuFind installs in at least 26 countries on 5 continents. We have a diverse community, some of whom are in this room. And the installs demonstrate a great range of project requirements and skill levels. I love this little chart of our progress on making releases. So as you can see, we've had a fairly steady flow of releases since somewhere in 2007 when we started putting out betas. And it's getting more dense at the end. I don't know if we're going to keep up this rapid version 2 releasing, but we just might. It seems to have a lot of momentum right now. We also started the developers call following the 2010 summit, and while this has never gotten huge, as you can see, we've had steady attendance and usually floating between, say, 7 and 10 people. And certainly anyone who's not already attending that is welcome to join in. It's usually not too long or painful, and it's really been helpful for making decisions and keeping things moving. Because I really don't like just making executive decisions and doing things, but if I can take it to a room full of people and say, hey, can I do this? And they say yes, then I feel much better about it. And of course, they sometimes suggest things that I just wouldn't have thought of. Also, mailing list is spiky but climbing, and sometimes with quite a few hundreds of messages in a month. So mailing lists have been ticking along since the beginning. I'm quite happy with those. Also, JIRA for our ticket management. This is about the last year of JIRA tickets. And as this shows, we've been doing a pretty good job of closing as many tickets as we open. So again, things just keep on moving along. But I love closing old JIRA tickets. It makes me so happy to close a ticket that's been open a long time. We also have a lot of commercial firms now supporting VuFind use, which is quite interesting, and I think extends our reach into places where open source might not otherwise be able to go. And I think there's still room for more growth in this area, given that a lot of these are international companies with somewhat narrow markets. And that's really all I have to say on progress and where we're going. There's, of course, a lot to talk about in terms of what we should be doing next. Some of the talks today will touch on some of that, and we're going to have breakout sessions in the afternoon. So I think rather than having a shout at Demian session